The sleek silver spaceship Eclipse glided through the void of space, its polished hull reflecting the distant starlight. The mission was one of exploration and diplomacy. Captain Mark Reynolds, a seasoned astronaut with a deep sense of curiosity, led the diverse crew. Their destination was Zorth, a newly discovered alien civilization reputed for its advanced technology and enigmatic culture. As the Eclipse approached the Zorathi space station, the crew gathered in the observation deck, their faces pressed against the large windows. The space station was a marvel of engineering, a sprawling structure of sleek metal and glowing energy fields. "Initiating docking sequence," said Lieutenant Maya Chen, the ship's pilot, her fingers dancing over the controls. The ship shuddered slightly as it made contact with the docking bay. Captain Reynolds stood up, adjusting his uniform. "All right, everyone. Remember our training. We're here to make a good impression and learn as much as we can. Let's be respectful and open-minded." The airlock hissed open, and the crew stepped onto the Zorathi station. They were immediately greeted by a delegation of female Zorathi. The aliens were tall and graceful, with shimmering iridescent skin and large, expressive eyes. They wore elaborate dresses adorned with intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with a soft glow. To the crew's astonishment, the female Zorathi lifted their dresses, revealing the bioluminescent patterns underneath. Each design was unique, swirling and changing colors in mesmerizing patterns. Captain Reynolds and his team exchanged bewildered glances, unsure of how to respond. High Priestess Hedi, the leader of the Zorathi delegation, stepped forward. She was taller than the others, with a commanding presence. "Greetings, humans," she said in a melodic voice. "We welcome you to Zorth. In our culture, revealing the patterns beneath our dresses is a sign of deep respect and trust. We hope you will understand and accept this gesture." Captain Reynolds nodded, doing his best to appear composed. "Thank you, High Priestess Hedi. We are honored to be here and eager to learn about your customs and technology." The initial awkwardness faded as the Zorathi led the humans through the station, explaining their culture and technology. The crew was fascinated by the advanced systems and the harmonious way the Zorathi lived with their environment. Captain Reynolds couldn't help but feel a growing sense of admiration for their new allies. That evening, a grand dinner was held in honor of the human visitors. The banquet hall was a stunning display of Zorathi artistry, with walls adorned with intricate tapestries and tables laden with exotic foods. The crew of the Eclipse mingled with their hosts, trying to absorb as much as they could about this intriguing civilization. Captain Reynolds found himself seated next to High Priestess Hedi. "Your customs are fascinating, High Priestess," he said, taking a sip of a fragrant beverage that tasted like a blend of honey and spices. "Can you tell me more about the significance of the patterns under your dresses?" Hedi smiled, her eyes shimmering with amusement. "Of course, Captain. The patterns are a form of personal expression and identity. Each one tells a story, reflecting our history, status, and achievements. By revealing them, we show our true selves and our trust in those we greet." Reynolds nodded, intrigued. "I see. It's a beautiful tradition, though I must admit it caught us by surprise." "Many visitors react that way," Hedi said with a chuckle. "But those who take the time to understand our customs often find deeper connections with us." As the evening progressed, the humans and Zorathi shared stories and laughter, breaking down the initial barriers. Lieutenant Chen and Chief Engineer Nadia Verkov were engrossed in discussions with Zorathi scientists, exchanging knowledge about their respective technologies. Dr. Elena Ramirez, the ship's medical officer, was fascinated by the Zorathi's advanced medical practices and their holistic approach to health. Despite the warmth of the gathering, Captain Reynolds couldn't shake a nagging sense of unease. He had noticed a few Zorathi watching them with less friendly eyes. He made a mental note to discuss this with his senior officers later. After the dinner, as the crew returned to the Eclipse, Captain Reynolds gathered his senior staff in the briefing room. "We need to be cautious," he said, his tone serious. "While most of the Zorathi seem friendly, there are a few who might not be as welcoming. Let's keep our guard up and be ready for anything." The crew nodded in agreement. They had come to explore and learn, but they were also aware of the potential dangers of encountering a new civilization. As they prepared for the days ahead, they couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. The journey had just begun, and there was much more to discover about the mysterious Zorathi. In the following weeks, the crew of the Eclipse delved deeper into Zorathi society. They attended more formal events, engaged in joint research projects, and even participated in traditional ceremonies. The bond between the humans and the Zorathi loyalists, led by High Priestess Hedy, grew stronger with each passing day. Captain Reynolds and his crew were impressed by the Zorathi's technological advancements. They discovered energy systems far more efficient than anything on Earth, and medical technologies that could revolutionize human healthcare. In return, the humans shared their knowledge of engineering and space travel, fostering a mutual exchange of ideas. However, not everyone on the station was pleased with this growing alliance. General Cray, a high-ranking Zorathi military leader, viewed the humans as a potential threat. He and his faction believed that opening their society to outsiders could weaken their cultural integrity and expose them to dangers from beyond their borders. One evening, during a strategic planning session in the Eclipse's command center, Captain Reynolds received an urgent message from High Priestess Hedy. "Captain Reynolds, we must speak immediately. There are developments you need to be aware of." Hedy's voice crackled over the comm. Reynolds nodded to his crew and headed to the designated meeting room. High Priestess Hedy and Zara, a skilled Zorathi warrior who had become a close ally, were waiting for him. "Captain, we have reliable intelligence that General Cray is planning to disrupt our alliance," Hedy began. "He sees your presence here as a threat and is rallying support to undermine our efforts." Reynolds frowned. "What kind of disruption are we talking about?" "Sabotage, possibly even open conflict," Zara interjected. "Cray's forces are well-equipped and fiercely loyal. We must be prepared for anything." The gravity of the situation was clear. Captain Reynolds knew that their mission had taken a dangerous turn. "We need to fortify our defenses and increase our vigilance. I'll alert my crew and ensure that we're ready for any potential threats." Despite their precautions, the attack came sooner than expected. In the middle of the night, a massive explosion rocked the Eclipse. Alarms blared, and the crew scrambled out of their quarters, racing towards the source of the blast. Captain Reynolds and Chief Engineer Nadia Verkov sprinted to the engine room, where thick smoke billowed out of the doorway. Nadia grabbed a fire extinguisher and started dousing the flames while Reynolds assessed the damage. It was clear that the explosion had been caused by a planted device. "Sabotage," Nadia confirmed, her voice tense. "This wasn't an accident." Reynolds cursed under his breath. "We need to find out who did this and why." As the crew worked to contain the damage, Lieutenant Chen conducted a thorough search of the ship's surveillance footage. Hours later, she found what they were looking for: a cloaked figure sneaking into the engine room and planting the device. "It's definitely someone from Cray's faction," Chen said, showing the footage to Reynolds. "The question is, how did they get aboard?" Reynolds clenched his fists. "We need to increase our security protocols. No one from Cray's faction should be allowed anywhere near our ship." The next day, Captain Reynolds met with High Priestess Hedy and Zara to discuss their findings. Hedy was visibly distressed. "This act of sabotage cannot go unpunished. We must bring Cray and his followers to justice." "I agree," Reynolds said, "but we need to be strategic. An open confrontation could lead to unnecessary casualties on both sides." Zara nodded. "We should gather more intelligence and plan a targeted strike. If we can capture Cray and his key supporters, we can neutralize the threat without a full-scale battle." The plan was set in motion. Captain Reynolds and his crew, alongside Hedy's loyalists, began to fortify their defenses and gather intelligence on Cray's operations. They worked tirelessly, knowing that the fate of their alliance depended on their success. Days turned into a tense waiting game. The humans and Zorathi loyalists maintained a constant state of readiness, their eyes and ears attuned to any signs of further sabotage. Captain Reynolds couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was yet to come. Late one night, a coded message arrived from one of Hedy's informants. The message revealed the location of General Cray's hidden base and detailed his plans for a larger, more devastating attack. Captain Reynolds gathered his senior staff in the briefing room. "We have the information we need. It's time to take the fight to Cray and end this threat once and for all." The crew of the Eclipse and their Zorathi allies prepared for a daring mission to infiltrate Cray's base and dismantle his operations. The stakes were high, but they knew that failure was not an option. The survival of their alliance, and possibly their very lives, depended on the success of this mission. The Eclipse was abuzz with activity as Captain Reynolds and his crew prepared for the impending confrontation with General Cray. Every crew member was acutely aware of the stakes. The sabotage had brought home the reality of their precarious situation. In the engineering bay, Chief Engineer Nadia Verkov worked tirelessly to fortify the ship's defenses, integrating the advanced Zorathi technology they had learned about into the Eclipse's systems. "Reynolds, these modifications should significantly boost our shields and weapon systems," Nadia reported, her face smeared with grease and sweat. "We'll be able to hold our own against Cray's forces." "Good work, Nadia," Reynolds replied, clapping her on the shoulder. "We're going to need every advantage we can get." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Chen oversaw the training of the crew, ensuring that everyone was proficient with the Zorathi weapons and tactics. The Zorathi warriors, led by Zara, provided additional training, teaching the humans how to fight in zero gravity and use the environment to their advantage. Captain Reynolds also held frequent strategy sessions with High Priestess Hedy and Zara. They meticulously planned their approach, studying the layout of Cray's hidden base and identifying key targets. The goal was to capture Cray and his top lieutenants while minimizing casualties. "We'll launch a coordinated strike," Reynolds explained during one such session. "Our main force will engage Cray's defenses head-on, drawing their attention. Meanwhile, a smaller stealth team will infiltrate the base and capture Cray." Hedy nodded, her expression determined. "My people are ready. We will stand with you, Captain." As the day of the mission approached, the tension on the Eclipse was palpable. Crew members double-checked their equipment, shared quiet moments of reflection, and steeled themselves for the battle ahead. Captain Reynolds walked through the ship, offering words of encouragement and reassurance. "We've trained for this," he said, addressing the assembled crew in the main hangar. "We know what's at stake. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves, but for the future of our alliance with the Zorathi. Let's show them what humanity is capable of." The crew responded with a resounding cheer, their spirits lifted by Reynolds' words. They were ready. The Eclipse approached the asteroid field that concealed General Cray's hidden base. The dense cluster of rocks and debris made for a treacherous navigation challenge, but Lieutenant Chen expertly guided the ship through, avoiding detection. "Everyone to battle stations," Captain Reynolds ordered, as they neared their target. "This is it." The main force, consisting of the Eclipse and several Zorathi ships, initiated their assault on the base's outer defenses. Laser fire and explosions lit up the dark void of space as Cray's forces responded with ferocity. The initial clash was chaotic, with ships weaving and dodging through the asteroid field, exchanging heavy fire. Captain Reynolds stood on the bridge, issuing commands and coordinating the attack. "Chen, take us in closer. We need to keep the pressure on their main defenses." The Eclipse moved in, its newly upgraded weapon systems unleashing devastating volleys of energy. Nadia's modifications were paying off. The ship's shields held strong against the enemy's counterattacks. Amidst the chaos, the stealth team led by Zara and including Nadia and a select group of elite human and Zorathi warriors launched their infiltration mission. Using a smaller cloaked vessel, they slipped past the outer defenses and landed near an access point on the asteroid's surface. Zara led the way, her sharp senses and combat skills guiding the team through the labyrinthine corridors of the base. They moved swiftly and silently, neutralizing guards and avoiding detection. Nadia, carrying a portable hacking device, disabled security systems and opened locked doors, clearing their path. Back at the main battle, the situation was growing increasingly intense. Cray's forces were numerous and well-equipped, but the combined might of the Eclipse and the Zorathi loyalists was formidable. Captain Reynolds kept a close eye on the status of both the battle and the infiltration team. "Reynolds to Zara, what's your status?" he called over the comm. We're inside, making our way to Cray's command center, Zara replied. Encountering heavy resistance, but we're holding our own. Stay focused and keep me updated, Reynolds instructed. We'll keep the pressure on out here. The infiltration team pressed forward, engaging in fierce skirmishes with Cray's loyalists. The corridors echoed with the sounds of energy weapons and the shouts of combat. Zara's leadership and combat prowess were instrumental in keeping the team moving. Finally, they reached the command center. Nadia hacked the door controls, and the team burst in, catching Cray and his lieutenants by surprise. A brutal firefight ensued, with both sides exchanging heavy fire. Captain Reynolds monitored the situation from the bridge, his heart pounding. "Come on, you can do it," he muttered under his breath. Inside the command center, Zara confronted General Cray directly. Their fight was intense, a clash of skill and determination. Despite his size and strength, Cray was no match for Zara's agility and precision. With a final decisive move, Zara disarmed and subdued him. "We've got him," Zara reported, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Excellent work," Reynolds replied, relief evident in his tone. "We'll start the withdrawal. Let's bring everyone home." With Cray captured and his forces in disarray, the main battle quickly turned in favor of the humans and Zorathi loyalists. The Eclipse and its allies disengaged, retreating to a safe distance as the enemy base fell silent. The mission was a success, but the cost had been high. The crew of the Eclipse and their Zorathi allies had fought bravely, and their efforts had paved the way for a new era of cooperation and understanding between their civilizations. As they regrouped and tended to their wounded, Captain Reynolds knew that the real work of building a lasting alliance had only just begun. With General Cray captured and his immediate threat neutralized, the alliance between humans and Zorathi loyalists faced a new challenge, securing and expanding their newfound unity. The victory had been significant, but the aftermath demanded strategic diplomacy and coalition building. Captain Reynolds, High Priestess Hetty, and their allies knew they needed more support to stabilize their position and prevent any resurgence of Cray's faction. Captain Reynolds convened a meeting with his senior officers and Zorathi leaders. "We've dealt a major blow to Cray's forces, but we can't let our guard down," he said. "We need to solidify our alliances and bring more of the Zorathi factions to our side." High Priestess Hetty nodded in agreement. "There are several neighboring civilizations that could be valuable allies. Some have remained neutral, but with the right approach, we could persuade them to join our cause." The crew of the Eclipse prepared for a series of diplomatic missions. Captain Reynolds, Lieutenant Chen, and Dr. Elena Ramirez would lead these efforts, visiting nearby star systems to negotiate alliances. Meanwhile, Nadia and Zara stayed behind to oversee repairs and security upgrades on the Eclipse and the Zorathi space station. Their first destination was the planet Naro, home to a highly intelligent and technologically advanced species known as the Naroians. The Eclipse descended through Naro's thick purple atmosphere, landing in a sprawling city of crystalline structures and pulsating energy fields. The Naroians greeted them with cautious curiosity. Their leader, Chancellor Varric, a tall being with shimmering, translucent skin and eyes that glowed with an inner light, welcomed them to the central council chamber. "Welcome, travelers," Varric intoned, his voice resonating with an almost musical quality. "We have heard of your recent conflict with General Cray. What brings you to our world?" Captain Reynolds stepped forward, his tone respectful but firm. "Chancellor Varric, we seek to build a coalition to ensure peace and stability in this region of space. General Cray's aggression threatens not just the Zorathi, but all neighboring civilizations. We believe that by working together, we can prevent future conflicts and foster mutual prosperity." Varric regarded Reynolds thoughtfully. "Your cause is noble, Captain, but alliances are not forged lightly. What assurances can you offer that this coalition will benefit the Naroians?" Dr. Elena Ramirez spoke up, highlighting the potential for shared medical advancements and technological innovations. "By combining our knowledge and resources, we can achieve breakthroughs that would be impossible alone. Our recent collaboration with the Zorathi has already shown remarkable results." The discussions were lengthy and intense, but eventually Chancellor Varric agreed to a provisional alliance. The Naroyans were intrigued by the potential for scientific and technological collaboration, and saw the value in a united front against any future threats. As the Eclipse departed Narrow, Captain Reynolds felt a sense of accomplishment. They had made a significant stride in their diplomatic efforts, but there were still more alliances to forge and obstacles to overcome. Their next destination was the planet Thara, inhabited by a species known for their warrior culture and strategic prowess. The Tharans were initially skeptical of the human Zorathi coalition, but Lieutenant Chen's tactical expertise and Captain Reynolds's diplomatic finesse slowly won them over. During a series of intense negotiations, Captain Reynolds presented a compelling case for unity. General Cray's forces may have been defeated, but the threat of instability remains. By joining our coalition, the Tharans can help shape a future where strength and cooperation ensure peace. The Tharan leader, Warlord Kor, a formidable figure clad in ornate battle armor, eventually agreed to a defensive pact. "We will join your coalition, Captain Reynolds, but know this: we value strength and honor above all. Prove to us that your cause is just, and we will stand with you." With 2 new allies secured, the Eclipse returned to the Zorathi space station. The atmosphere aboard the ship was one of cautious optimism. The coalition was growing, and with it, their chances of maintaining peace and stability in the region. Upon their return, Captain Reynolds and his crew were met with troubling news. Despite their recent successes, intelligence reports indicated that remnants of General Cray's faction had regrouped and established a hidden base deep within a treacherous asteroid field. The base was well protected by advanced cloaking technology, making it nearly impossible to detect. High Priestess Hedy convened an emergency council meeting. "We cannot allow Cray's followers to regain their strength," she declared. "We must locate and dismantle this hidden base before they pose another serious threat." Zara, now acting as the primary military advisor, presented the plan. "We've received intel from our new allies that suggests a possible location for the base. It will be a difficult mission, but with our combined forces and advanced technology, we can succeed." Captain Reynolds and his team prepared for the mission with meticulous care. The Eclipse was outfitted with the latest in stealth technology, provided by the Naroyans, and advanced weaponry from the Tharans. The combined might of their allies would be crucial in penetrating the asteroid field and taking down the hidden base. As they approached the suspected location, the Eclipse navigated through the dense asteroid field with precision. Lieutenant Chen's expert piloting skills were put to the test as she guided the ship through narrow passages and avoided deadly collisions. "Stay sharp, everyone," Captain Reynolds instructed over the ship's intercom. "We're entering hostile territory. Prepare for anything." The asteroid field was eerily quiet, the only sounds coming from the ship's engines and the occasional ping of debris against the hull. Suddenly, their sensors picked up faint energy readings. The hidden base was close. "Lieutenant Chen, bring us in slowly," Reynolds ordered. "We need to get as close as possible without alerting their defenses." The Eclipse crept forward, its cloaking systems masking its approach. Through the view screen they saw the base, a sprawling structure built into the side of a massive asteroid, bristling with weapons and sensor arrays. Captain Reynolds turned to his crew, his expression resolute. "This is it. We'll launch a coordinated strike to disable their defenses. Once we're in, we need to move quickly and take control of the base." The initial attack was swift and brutal. The Eclipse and its allied ships unleashed a barrage of firepower, targeting the base's defense systems. Explosions rocked the asteroid as the enemy scrambled to respond. "Reynolds, to all units, proceed with the assault," the captain commanded. "We need to breach their defenses and secure the base." Zara led the ground assault team, which included a mix of human and Zorathi soldiers. They landed on the asteroid's surface and fought their way through the base's outer defenses. The fighting was intense, but the combined training and coordination of the coalition forces gave them the upper hand. Inside the base, the corridors were a maze of narrow passages and fortified positions. Captain Reynolds and Zara pushed forward, their team systematically clearing each section. They encountered fierce resistance, but their determination never wavered. "Keep moving," Zara shouted, her voice cutting through the din of battle. "We're almost there." Finally, they reached the central command center. General Cray's loyalists made a last stand, but they were no match for the combined might of the human Zorathi coalition. The battle ended with the surrender of the remaining forces. Captain Reynolds surveyed the command center, now under their control. "We've done it," he said, a sense of relief washing over him. "Cray's threat is finally over." Zara nodded, a rare smile crossing her face. "This victory belongs to all of us. Together, we've proven that our alliance is stronger than any single faction." With the hidden base dismantled and Cray's remaining forces captured or dispersed, the human Zorathi coalition began to focus on rebuilding and strengthening their alliance. However, intelligence reports suggested that General Cray himself had evaded capture and was rallying the last of his loyalists for a desperate final stand. The coalition knew they had to act quickly to prevent Cray from regaining any semblance of power. High Priestess Hetty and Captain Reynolds convened a war council aboard the Eclipse. Zara, Nadia, Lieutenant Chen, and representatives from their new allies, the Neroians and Tharans, joined them. "We have reliable intelligence that Cray has retreated to an abandoned mining colony on the outskirts of the Zorathi territory," Hetty began, pointing to a holographic map. "This location is heavily fortified, and Cray has gathered all his remaining forces there for a last-ditch effort." Captain Reynolds leaned forward, his expression determined. "This is our chance to end this once and for all. We need a coordinated strike that will leave Cray no escape." Zara outlined the battle plan. "We'll divide our forces into 3 groups. The main force will engage Cray's defenses head-on, creating a diversion. A second team will infiltrate the colony from the rear, disabling their communications and power systems. The third team, led by Captain Reynolds and myself, will go straight for Cray." The coalition forces prepared for the assault, knowing that this mission could be the most dangerous yet. As they approached the mining colony, the tension was palpable. Every soldier and crew member understood the importance of this battle. Failure was not an option. The attack began at dawn, with the main force launching a relentless assault on the colony's outer defenses. Explosions rocked the facility as laser fire and energy weapons lit up the sky. The defenders, though outnumbered, fought with the desperation of those who knew they had nothing left to lose. Meanwhile, the infiltration team, led by Nadia and a Neroian tech specialist named Varek, slipped through a hidden tunnel. Using their combined expertise, they quickly disabled the colony's communications and power systems, plunging the base into chaos. Inside the colony, Captain Reynolds and Zara led their strike team through the narrow corridors. They encountered fierce resistance, but their training and determination saw them through. Reynolds' leadership and Zara's combat prowess proved to be an unstoppable combination. As they approached Cray's command center, Reynolds activated his comm. "Main force, status report." Lieutenant Chen's voice crackled through the static. "We're holding our own, Captain. The outer defenses are crumbling. How's your team?" "We're almost at Cray's location," Reynolds replied. "Keep up the pressure." Finally, they reached the reinforced doors of the command center. With a nod, Zara placed explosive charges and stepped back. The explosion tore the doors apart, and the team stormed inside. General Cray stood at the center of the room, surrounded by his remaining loyalists. His eyes blazed with defiance and rage. "You've come a long way to die, Captain," he sneered. Reynolds stepped forward, his weapon trained on Cray. "It's over, Cray. Surrender, and this can end without more bloodshed." Cray laughed, a bitter sound. "Never. I will never surrender to you." The final confrontation was brutal and intense. Cray's loyalists fought with the ferocity of cornered animals, but they were no match for the coalition forces. Reynolds and Zara pushed forward, their focus unwavering. Cray and Reynolds faced off in a climactic battle. Blows were exchanged, and energy blasts seared the air. Despite his rage and determination, Cray was ultimately no match for Reynolds' skill and resolve. With a final decisive strike, Reynolds disarmed Cray and brought him to his knees. "It's over," Reynolds said, breathing heavily. "You lost." Cray glared up at him, his defiance fading into resignation. "Perhaps," he muttered, "but this isn't the end." Zara stepped forward, securing Cray in restraints. "For you, it is." The battle won, The coalition forces secured the colony and took Cray and his remaining loyalists into custody. The War Council convened once more, this time to plan the next steps for securing a lasting peace. With General Cray and his loyalists defeated, the human Zorathi coalition could finally turn its attention to rebuilding and ensuring the stability of their alliance. The sense of relief and triumph was palpable, but the work was far from over. The coalition leaders knew they had to lay the groundwork for a future that would prevent such conflicts from arising again. Back aboard the Eclipse, Captain Reynolds and his senior officers met with High Priestess Hedi, Zara, and representatives from the Naroyans and Tharans. The atmosphere was one of cautious optimism. "We've achieved a great victory," Captain Reynolds began, "but we need to ensure that the peace we've fought for is lasting. We must formalize our alliance and establish a framework for cooperation and mutual defense." High Priestess Hedi nodded. "Agreed. We need to create a governing body that includes representatives from all our allied civilizations. This council will oversee our collective security and promote cultural and technological exchange." The coalition leaders worked tirelessly over the next few weeks, drafting treaties and agreements that would form the foundation of their new alliance. The process was not without its challenges. Each civilization had its own unique needs and concerns. However, the shared goal of peace and prosperity motivated everyone to find common ground. During this time, the crew of the Eclipse also took the opportunity to learn more about their allies and share their own knowledge and culture. Friendships blossomed, and the bonds forged in battle grew even stronger. Lieutenant Chen and Dr. Elena Ramirez led joint training sessions with Zorathi, Naroyan, and Theran soldiers, sharing tactics and medical techniques. Nadia and the Naroyan tech specialist Varric collaborated on several engineering projects, including advancements in energy efficiency and space travel. As the formal alliance took shape, Captain Reynolds and High Priestess Hedi held a ceremony to commemorate the new beginning. The ceremony was held in the Grand Hall of the Zorathi Space Station, with representatives from all allied civilizations in attendance. Standing before the assembled crowd, Captain Reynolds spoke with conviction. "Today, we mark the beginning of a new era, an era of unity, cooperation, and shared prosperity. We've proven that together we are stronger than any threat. Let this alliance be a beacon of hope and a testament to what we can achieve when we stand together." High Priestess Hedi stepped forward, her presence commanding and serene. "We have faced great challenges and overcome them through our unity and determination. Let this alliance serve as a reminder that peace and understanding are always worth striving for. May our future be bright and our bonds unbreakable." The ceremony concluded with a symbolic exchange of gifts, each representing the unique contributions of the allied civilizations. The humans presented a piece of Earth art, a painting depicting the diversity and beauty of their home planet. The Zorathi offered a ceremonial tapestry, woven with bioluminescent threads that told the story of their people. The Naroyans gifted a crystalline sculpture that emitted a soft, calming light, symbolizing knowledge and enlightenment. The Tharans contributed a ceremonial blade representing strength and honor. As the celebrations continued, Captain Reynolds took a moment to reflect on their journey. They had faced incredible odds and emerged victorious, not just through strength, but through unity and understanding. The future was uncertain, but with their allies by their side, he felt confident that they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Eclipse set a course for new frontiers, carrying the promise of a brighter future among the stars. The crew looked forward to their continued adventures, exploring new worlds and forging new alliances. Humanity's journey was far from over, and the adventures that lay ahead would shape the destiny of all the civilizations, united under the banner of their shared quest for knowledge and peace.